Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of People to Know. I'm absolutely privileged to bring you my guest today, Doran.
How we doing?
It's a pleasure to have you on today.
Pleasure having me.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So, Jay, I know like a lot of people know you. I mean, you're crushing out a ton of videos on YouTube. I mean, you're an absolute genius. So, what exactly is it that you do for those people?
So Culture Matters is really it's a mission. If there could be a meme in the future where everyone was like, yeah, culture matters, then I'd accomplish it. In the interim, I want to live in a world where every CEO knows why they're in business, how to clearly transcribe that, and what daily activities must be exercised so the original culture lives forever. That's my vision statement. What that looks like is we need to figure out and get really clear on the values so we can create training programs around that so employees don't just show up aimlessly, but show up being purposeful and confident in what they do. And I personally, having lived that, where this has all come from with my business, one of my original ones, got inspired from that. And after doing the research necessary to figure that all out, I'm like, why isn't it like this? Mm-hmm. So that's in essence what Culture Matters is. It's really about a movement. So people wake up that culture matters. I'll give you an example. Mm-hmm. You're walking down the street and you judge somebody for whatever. That's culture. It's your metaphorical ecosystem in your own head of belief that made you worry about whatever they have going on and negate them or lower them in your view. Mm-hmm. When you see them as a human that has fears and desires and hopes like you, and they see you as a human, it doesn't matter what religion they are or what skin color they are, where you're from or where they are. When we both see each other as human is just a teeny bit more important, then I did something good for the planet.
Wonderful.
Right. Human culture matters. Mm-hmm. Right. That's what it really is. It's a movement.
Yeah. So how specifically are you creating culture? Like, what does it take to create great culture?
So I think the first thing we have to do is define this, right? I say define something before you can refine your actions, before you can control the outcome. Culture is this amorphous blob, abstract notion. We're not talking culture. Cultural alignment is what matters, meaning Paul's character is the thoughts that he has, the ideas that come from it, the actions that are based on those ideas, and then based on the outcome, negative or positive, new belief patterns are formed or current ones are reaffirmed. Mm-hmm. And they become habits which become justified consciously as convictions, and your convictions create your character, and so on and so on. And your convictions either influence others or don't. Mm-hmm. So the abundance of influence or the lack of dictates whether you are a convincing person or not. Your character is your self-culture. My character is my self-culture. If you don't form agreement with what I'm saying right now, then we are not in alignment. And it's cultural alignment is what matters. If a company, a family, a household, a relationship, a friendship, a group, a country, a continent, a planet, it doesn't matter. If the organisms outside of one are not in alignment with the same vision to a solution of a problem, the same values or belief systems that garner actions that are analogous to one another, well, then they're not on the same page. And it's going to be a mess. And humans have been gifted, for whatever faith you believe in, we have been gifted this power that what the mind believes, the mind can conceive and achieve. We have been gifted this power that we think it, we can say it and think it and do it and get it. We have been gifted that. And we are not on the same page with each other. So if I'm going to take that, what I just said, and bring it down, right? Bring that big conversation down. In a company, it started with somebody's vision. Ray Kroc saw, McDonald's, it's fast, it's cheap, it's tasty. They could be everywhere.
Yeah.
So he had a vision to a solution of a problem. All right, that's the beginning of the business. And it's up to his ability to communicate that to employees, investors, shareholders, customers, for them to buy into it. And if they believe in that vision to a solution of a problem, like they believe in the product, that's the cultural alignment. Mm-hmm. We just call it a culture and we say, oh, whatever that is. But most of all businesses aren't in control of their culture. And that falls upon the leadership's ability to communicate the vision, the mission, and the values. So if they do have them, they're usually just sitting on a wall somewhere. Or if they don't have them, they're either out of business or they're in business because they have a leader or many that have been attracted to each other, that through their purpose have impassioned other people to buy into whatever it is. And it's just what I focus on, and what Culture Matters is about, helping them get really clear on their 10 commandments, on their vision, and train the company's people off of it. Right?
Wow.
Leadership is just a label we place on individuals who share their story, get to know other people's story, and inspire their people to a new story of what's possible.
Yeah.
And we call that vision. So that's why culture matters.
So if you're a leader in a company, what is one way you can inspire people, motivate people, and really like create that culture within your company or organization?
Yeah. So the first thing you have to do is we have to get clear on why it's in existence, right? Let's redefine business first, because if we can redefine something, then we can refine what we do with it. So first we have to form agreement with the understanding that if you're not solving someone's problem, whatever it is, tangible or intangible, well, then there'll be a refund. So first, a business is someone's vision to a solution of a problem, and the profit is the margin in between what it costs to solve the problem and what comes in. So if a business is the vision to a solution of a problem, well, why was the business started? See, that's where the vision statement comes in. The vision statement is a visual representation of the goal. The goal is based on a purpose, and the purpose is based on, well, why did we start it? What problem are we solving? So the leadership has to get really clear. Why are we in business? Like, for example, if we're a real estate sales company, well, it's not really about the house, is it? It's about the people in it.
Right.
So we're in business because the customers we have, the agents we have, and the people we do business with, we want them to be in the home of their dreams, and for our agents to build the business of their life. Like and I just made that up obviously completely in 5 seconds, but the point is it's got to be based on some kind of visual representation of whatever goal it is based on the leadership. Because all companies are started with one person, maybe two or a couple, that all have synchronicity between them believing that they can solve some kind of problem. Once they get really clear on that, now it's about, well, how?
Right.
And that's where I would argue is what I talk about is a little different. For example, what's one word that would describe you?
Persistent.
Okay. Now let's pause. Persistent is the word. If you're driving down the road and you see a billboard, in one sentence or less, what does persistent mean to you?
Never give up. Oh, I guess never give up is like a phrase I would use.
Okay. So now persistent is the word. And if I were to ask 100 people if the same question, they're driving down the road, what would it mean? They probably all have different context or different definitions.
Yeah.
Some may or may not fall in alignment with your context. In your business, your context matters.
Right.
Because you're not hiring the right people. You're hiring people who are in alignment with you. You're not finding the right people. You're attracting you. If we don't get clear on who you are, how can we create a process of elimination to onboard anyone? If we don't know who you are, how can we create a training program of the what to inspire the why? Meaning in your company, persistent is one of the values, and the context is never give up. So if we're going to train our salespeople on making what some say cold calls and I say is a hot call, the underlying ideology or value that we've got to indoctrinate in our people by talking about with them and storytelling to them and getting them on board is persistent means never give up. Well, why would we never give up? I'm sure behind that context of never give up, you have some stories you could share, correct?
Absolutely.
So that's what you're telling your people. Those stories are what we will be inspired by to aspire to these new behaviors. Now, the behavior, though, is the effect of the causality, which is the belief. So if you can change your people's beliefs, you'll change their behaviors. The catch is when you change their words, you'll change their beliefs.
Right.
Until we've found the vision based on the vision to a solution problem, until we figure out the vision, we can't create goals because we have no purpose. And until we've done that, the vision, we can't create the values or reverse engineer who you are as a leader into tangible context of behavior. And if we don't have the values, then we can't create the training system based on the values so the people believe it before they do it. Because we don't, if information was enough, we'd all be skinny, wealthy, live to 150, we wouldn't do drugs, we wouldn't smoke, we wouldn't have more, it would be this perfect world. But logic isn't enough. We already know what we should or shouldn't do.
Right, yeah.
It's a transformative belief that triggers action. So what I've come to find is that if you're going to create cultural alignment, culture defining itself as a metaphorical ecosystem of shared belief created by an influencer, that be you, we've got to define who you are, define your values, which express who you are, and help your people buy into that.
Wow. So what's one way that people can actually express their vision, what it means to them, and then really expand their culture and other people? Is it just through speaking, through
yeah, that's a great
environmental
question.
tools?
No, it's a great question because at the end of the day, it's well, how do we do this? The first step is the company's leadership has to form agreement with the fact that they've got to become deliberately developmental. They have to make a conscious decision that the time, energy, and money that they've been spending on other things, they've got to start taking really serious to invest in their people. Like the ROI, the $10,000 a month that they'd spend an ad budget getting customers to come in, right, with their brand or belief consumers have and then to solve a problem. Well, that's bringing customers through the door. But if their people aren't in alignment with their vision, mission, and values, they haven't been led, they haven't been taught, well, then the employees are the ones touching the customer, not the owner, meaning the employees are just going to screw up all the marketing budget. And I would argue in the 21st century, in 2017, companies have to understand that their people are the investment now.
Right.
So they've got to invest in actually having people train them on a daily and weekly basis. It's about getting really clear on why the company started, what the values are, and then creating deliberately developmental training programs. I'm going to give you an example. The Container Store has 1/10 of the turnover of any other retailer. They get paid on average of 50% more than any other retailer. 90% of their employees are previous customers. And they attribute that success to the fact that they train their staff 160 hours a year.
Wow. It's wonderful.
And they're not the only ones.
Yeah.
The companies that are the top companies to work for have 70% less customer turnover on average. Their profits are usually between 200% and 1,200% more than companies that don't. Think of your family. If you express to your children that you care for them, is it easier to teach them stuff? Are they going to model your behavior? Yeah. There's no difference than your children and your employees, because if your employees knew what you knew, they'd be you. And most aren't so lucky to be in life knowing exactly who they are, what they want, or why they're on the planet. And I would argue it's the responsibility of a company. If the company started with someone forming an agreement that they had a vision to a solution of a problem, and it's usually a founder that loves their life, isn't it? Then they formed agreement with some purpose. Well, just like a priest on every Sunday can do it for somebody, or a pastor, they can do that for their people by giving them something to grab onto. And if they don't do that, that's irresponsible. And it's also irresponsible because the employee has a crappier job, and the employee takes that negative energy or that lack of purpose and throws it on the lap of the customer. And the customer shows how they feel by they don't spend as much money. So how do they do it? It takes a serious audit. It's too specific to just slap it on. But I'll give you an example. The 1 hour a day that I invested with my people, 12 to 1. It's what changed the whole thing.
Wow.
Because if you bottle down your business, right? You bottle it down. You really look at it. There aren't too many things. We talked about the reps before the show.
Yeah.
It's those little reps that get the bodybuilder to look the way he is, but it's that he continued for 15 years. It's those reps in business that we put in, like it's the calls we make, the contacts we make that eventually turn into all the business. It's those little reps. When you bottle down your business, you can break it down into a couple things that if you trained your people, they believed what you believed and they knew what you knew, they would model your behavior. No one gets into life saying, I can't wait to fail.
Right.
We do go through life tripping and falling and no one's really there to pick us up.
So, yeah, it's really interesting. And like I remember earlier we were talking about people finding their passion, finding their purpose. Like what's a word of advice that you have on people finding their passion and purpose?
It's simple. You're never going to find your passion. I've said this like 1,000. Everyone that's ever said they're going to find a passion, no. You're sitting in the audience, the guru's on stage and he says, you got to find your passion. Everyone in the audience is like, they're all saying, this is it. And they're all thinking, well, how? Right. How am I going to do it? Because passion is the offspring of purpose. Passion is, you would say, oh, Jay's passionate. He's passionate. He's found it. You have to remember how important your words are. You wouldn't look in front of the mirror for 30 days and say, I hate myself. I'm ugly. Okay, so words matter. So by saying, I'm going to find my passion, no. Think about your favorite sport. Are you good at it?
Yeah.
Do you at least feel like you're good at it?
I love it.
Okay. Things that we believe we are good at, we form purpose. Purpose not being what? Meaning, if a purpose was a what or something outside of ourselves, then everyone that's ever become so wealthy wouldn't say, well, it didn't matter until I started giving back. That's what they always say. Oh, I chased the money for so many years and then I realized it wasn't the money I was meant to do. It wasn't my purpose. The money didn't make me happy. So meaning they have proven that we're not going to find our passion outside of ourselves. There's nothing that is going to fill the void. So purpose is not a noun. It's not a what. All right? Purpose, person, place, or thing. Right? That woman won't make me happy. That money won't make me happy. Purpose is a conscious and unconscious agreement that we enjoy something. But we don't enjoy what we hate. We suck at. Most people never find their passion because they never become purposeful in something, because purpose comes from having the vision to a solution of a problem, which in essence is what a business is. The reason your life business is not right is because we haven't experimented, gotten curious enough, and learned enough or thought enough to find something in ourself, because it comes from us, feeling we're good at it, to do enough good to help others. Because it's not about us. If it was just about us, we wouldn't have children. If it was just about us, we would split like amoebas or something. You're not finding your passion, just like you're not finding your spouse. You are practicing things, you're testing things, you're learning things, you are trying things enough until you get good at something. And when we feel as though we're good at something, we always want to share it. Purpose is something we put meaning to. We give meaning. Now you think, oh, well, that's hard. That's what's beautiful about life, because we have all the power. But what we don't define, we can't refine. Meaning, when we don't define ourselves, when we don't experiment and explore enough to get good at something enough, and that takes the repetition. You got to put the work in. Well, then we'll never be able to control the outcomes of our life.
So how specifically can people find, like, wow, I want to find my purpose, I want to find my passion. I'm ready to work, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Where do I focus my attention?
There's no answer that I say, oh, this is it. You've got to experiment. How can you figure out who you are? For example, if everything in life is nature and nurture, we're born, because we have modern science now to see, like, oh, we're more prone to get this cancer or this heart disease or whatever. We're born with a slate of genes based on our parents, right? It's statistical probability. We're going to get laid out with these genetics. And then everything that happens in our life, based on what happens and our genes, our perception of what happens, we make decisions on that happening to move forward. And then that forms our character, right? Or our personality.
Right.
So we're all just a mesh of a statistical probability of whatever's possible. We don't, if we're gifted genetically with certain things, like, all right, more likely to be a basketball player, more likely to be, like I think abstract personally. So I'm maybe, that could be like a pre-existing condition to want to be having this conversation.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. What, do you think I was born at 2 years old with the understanding of that? No, it was through curiosity, learning, experimenting, thinking, the act of thinking. Basically everything that contradicts everything in society that tells us when you raise your hand in math class at 9 years old, you say, why are we learning this? They shut up, just study. Society conditions us not to think. The reason people don't find their purpose is because they never think enough to figure something out that they like. And then society tells us, don't try that, be safe. Don't try that, be safe. Don't do that, be safe. There's no answer to someone. This is the conscious awareness or the agreement that we need to make with ourselves. That's important. Is we're not going to find it outside of ourselves. It's in us, and only through the thinking and experimenting and the curiosity process, right? Being curious, will we ever have any hopes of doing something enough to become good at it enough to say, I like this. And then understanding that we're meant to share. Example, you want to lose weight? Go with a buddy and read up on losing weight, become aware of it, like how to do it, like how to work out, and go teach someone. You want to get good at something? Teach someone else. Neurologically, we're 700% more likely to retain information if we teach it. Wow. So read up on Wikipedia how to work out and go teach someone, and you will lose the weight faster. Humans are biologically designed to give a crap about each other. It shows us that in our cortisol and our oxytocin and our endorphins and our serotonin. Serotonin is the leadership drug. It's about sharing. Endorphins is about working out. Oxytocin is a love drug. And our cortisol is a stress hormone. Right? It has its purpose, but our thoughts trigger it, and it triggers our thoughts. And it's this catch-22 of like, what's nature? What's nurture? At the end of the day, what you think, you get. Mm-hmm. But we're lost, and we don't have our purpose because we haven't done enough thinking to say, let me try this. It's in us. It's in us. So best advice I give someone, correlation, not causation, meaning this is not finite. Like, oh, you do this, you're going to be great. Invest some time in thinking every day. What's a conduit of thought? Reading books, having a conversation like this, right? They say you become what you're around the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Law of association.
That's why when you study these personal development gurus, you see the same common denominators. They read books, they hang out with other people that think what they do, they have a coach. It's always from Socrates to Plato to Aristotle, it's been the same damn common denominators. All I can say, if I wasn't so damn curious, I sure wouldn't have any purpose in my life.
So the curiosity that you have led you to finding purpose.
That would, Richard Feynman said it best, curiosity breeds intelligence. Think about it, like a commonsensical, I hate that word, but let's just say, if you have played two sports, football and basketball, and you're not really that good at either, versus the kid that played football, basketball, but then played tennis, hockey, and the list goes on. And they haven't been good at any of those, but statistically, who's more likely to find when they're good at?
The person who experiments the most.
You just gotta, it's like, we all are gifted things based on what? Our genes. Some are like in math, boom, right there. English, boom, right there. Spirit, like they have the 13 plus intelligences they talk about. We don't even know enough about the brain. We know less about the brain than the ocean. So we all have these internal mechanisms that give us a higher likelihood to be good at something. And if purpose is a verb, meaning we form it based on how we feel we are good at it and what value we can bring to other organisms because we're social creatures, then it makes sense that you have to actually try a lot of stuff before you find something you love. And something you love is going to come from how good it makes you feel about yourself, in yourself, around others. So if you aren't good at something and aren't bringing any value to anyone else, how could you expect to like it? And biology has a funny way of mirroring our spirituality.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by mirroring the spirituality?
Because biologically, we're designed to have children.
Mm-hmm.
So we're designed to teach. Why would a child come out, for 9 months and even a couple years where they would basically get killed by anything? If the parents weren't meant to draw from their own experiences gathered up and share it. So biology, what I say about that is biology, whether it's trying to or not, proves the thesis that we are meant to think, grow, and share. Because, that's how we form agreement with things. That's how we get purpose from things. Mm-hmm. Right? But if you're not going to share what you don't enjoy, and you're not going to enjoy what you're bad at. So it comes through being curious, experimenting, trying new things. And I would just argue that a lot of people haven't formed agreement with purpose in anything because our society, not necessarily on purpose, I would say it's a misfiring of social evolution. Our society doesn't, propel the abundance of learning. It's not a cool thing. It's not in. Okay? It doesn't say take massive risks. Right? That's a misfiring of the industrial age. I feel as though we're moving into that now in the information age. I think that it's an inevitability, right? It's a causal effect of the information age and having access, like being able to have these conversations. Anyone can check this out and start thinking. I think that the human condition is going to start thinking more and more and more the more we progress as a society and technology enables it. I think there's a lot of hope. But if you want to form agreement, not find, you got to watch your words. If you want to form agreement with something like a purpose, you want to say, I love what I do. You got to be good at something. And to be good at something, you got to try stuff. And there'll be things that you get good at because you're really trying. And there'll be things that you're good at because they're naturally good at. Like the way my head works and the childhood that I had where I got love and significance from teaching because I didn't feel loved as a child. If you knew my whole background and the stories I told myself growing up, being an inspirational teacher is exactly what I need to be doing. The way I think, abstract and amorphous and all that, that's not linear, non-linear thinking, coupled with the feeling of significance and love through sharing. That's a perfect formula for someone to be a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go, I win.
Nice.
I know who I am.
Nice.
It's that self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Who you are, only you can form agreement and find your truth. And the best way you're going to do that is to experiment and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's the time others are spending drinking on the weekend that I'm reading books.
Wow.
To find that. Right? Or like driving in my car, I have an option. If I had chosen to listen to music 4 years ago, 5 years ago, every day, I wouldn't be sitting here.
So you don't listen to music in the car?
Not 99.9% of the time.
So what do you do?
And that's not what other people should do or don't do. That's your truth. But I'm saying I listen to audiobooks. And I would say audiobooks or books or this conversation, whatever you're doing, the offset of this is you're thinking. Whether you form agreement with what I'm saying or not, you're thinking. And it's thinking that creates all matter. Thinking created this table. Thinking creates the matter or the circumstance of your life because your thoughts trigger actions with get outcomes. And based on the negative or positive outcome, you either form a new belief system or reaffirm a preliminary one, right? Pre-existing one. And that becomes a habit and a conviction. And your convictions create your character or the culture around you, which influences others. So it's about thinking. I personally invest a lot of time in thinking. So therefore, there's going to be new what? Ideas. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thoughts. Now they're mine. So I say, oh, that's maybe a good idea. So then I can take action on it. And based on my preconceived belief of the idea, like if I think it's really, really good, but the outcome isn't that good, I may keep going. We would label that as, oh, he's got grit.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
Right.
They're convicted. They're convicted because they felt, and they can't explain it. It's abstract. It's amorphous. It's not, you can't touch it. There's this gut feeling that it's going to work. And then we say, oh, that's their passion. No, it's their imagination.
Wow.
Right? It's all imagination. The imagination is what's powerful. Thinking is what moves the imagination.
So I love the topic of like thoughts become things.
Yeah.
So meaning like what you think, essentially, then you create. Like, what's one way? Say I want, a fast car, a big house, and like a wonderful relationship with like a beautiful girl. Like, what's one way to like for people to like think those things into existence?
So the first thing you have to understand is that this is what helped me. Number one, nothing in life is finite. No one could ever tell you, all right, you do this, you're going to get this outcome. You have to understand that. What you do have a responsibility over, the one thing we have a responsibility over, is to be aware of what we say and do. Already in this conversation here, quite a couple times I caught myself saying a word that I want to say a different word. I'm pretty sure I did it a couple times. And even in the conversation we had before, I did that. That's a conscious understanding that my words matter, and my words are the bridge between my thoughts, my actions, my beliefs, my habits, and my convictions. For example, if you have an individual that says they can't for 10 years, with whatever you put behind it, can't get the nice car, can't get the nice woman, can't get the nice whatever, we know it's probably a pretty damn good opinion to have that they're never going to have it. So I would say be aware, believe, and be aware that the words that you say matter, and start educating yourself on language. Right? Positive versus negative language. It's like, oh, I just think it's going to happen. No. But your state is influenced by your unconscious habits, because we consciously justify our habits. I'll give you an example. How many people have you met that just told you, there's no matter what, there's no way they're losing weight? They're convicted to that because their conviction is their conscious agreement that it can't happen for them, because their habits are doing something contradictory to what is needed to do to lose the weight. So our conscious mind will protect our unconscious behavior. Well, to change the conscious mind, we have to change the unconscious behavior. To change the unconscious behavior, we have to change our words and understand that our words are bridges between thoughts and action. And when action occurs, based on the outcome, if the outcome is negative, most likely the belief system will be negative. So then it stops the future possibility. People with grit, they might have such a clear belief already. I would call it their matrix, or their perception of reality. Such a clear matrix that they say the word, they say, I can do this, I can do this. And then they dig it, and then they have the idea, and then they take action. If the outcome is negative, they just keep going, right? And eventually they get it.
Right.
For someone that wants whatever they want, you've got to be aware of what you tell yourself. For example, lately I say, I've caught myself after having this accident where my arm was paralyzed, not forever, but it's just a little while. And an ATV fell on me and crushed it, whatever, for the audience. But I'm fine. I'm great, actually.
Good, thank God.
Yeah, I'm great. I'm amazing. This happened for me, not to me.
Right.
There are many pros that came out of this. I added a chapter of my new book because of this. Okay, the book is an adopted boy's culture of success, and each chapter breaks down one of my values, the stories of my life behind me forming agreements with those values, and how another individual can attain coachability, leadership, humility, and so on and so forth. Well, I say this a lot, and I'm now controlling my thoughts because I'm controlling the words I say. I don't need things. I find myself saying, I need this, I need this, I need this. No. If I say that, I catch myself and I say, I want that. But I don't need it.
Right.
By saying I need, if I'm always saying to myself, I need, I'll never have. By catching myself and saying, and being aware of like, I need that, no, I want it. Instead of feeling like I'm missing something, I feel full. And now I'm reaching. Humans are biologically designed to be reaching. But that's where the mistake is. You can be a fulfilled person also reaching. Instead of most of us, without knowing it and the power of our words, and that we have all the power, when we can refine our thoughts and define our life there, or define our thoughts and refine our life, is that we can be full without anything. And I've said that a couple times in this conversation. The way to control that outcome is to be aware of your words. And eventually you put enough action behind it, you'll get it.
Wow.
You could die in the process. That's a very clear probability. However, in that moment by moment, at least you'll be really clear on who you are and why you're being, right? Because you're full. You don't need anything. You want something.
Yeah.
Right? What else is there to life?
That's it. I mean, that's really what it is. And that's, a lot of people define success as that, just achieving what it is you want. So over the next 5 years, what is it that you want over the next 5 years? What's your vision for the next 5 years of your life?
So every day I do exactly what I'll do in 5 years. I read every day, write every day, I film videos every day, and I speak every day. This conversation counts as speaking, meaning I'm here in abundance, giving, listening, and authentic, right?
Right, absolutely.
If I can do that every day, I'm in alignment with what I have formed agreement with my purpose on the planet. Now, the abundance of that is, I would like to do that with more people. And that's it.
Wonderful.
It's funny because all the things that I thought I was doing this for a long while ago, been on this journey for my whole life now of personally developing. And it started, and I go into my book, the new book, which I start with the value fear, which was my whole upbringing. It was afraid to be loved. Being adopted, not forming agreement with that, not being okay with that, like unconsciously, drove me to like eat a lot, got into chapter 2, discipline, that discipline to lose weight, doing it for others, not myself, wanting to feel love and significance by how I looked. That moved into drive and then commitment. And the drive was a low frequency ambition. Like, I need stuff outside of myself to be happy. Commitment as in actually pushing away people that loved me, and because I thought that they were in the way of what I thought I needed to be happy. And then moving into coachability and then vision and really stepping into something that was bigger than Jay. Like, culture matters. No one says Jay Duran. Everyone's like, culture matters. It's about culture matters, not me. 5 years from now, in my early 30s, to do what I'm doing now on a larger scale. That's it. And when I'm 150, it'll be the exact same conversation. The only difference is there'll be more videos, more books, more engagements, and more people will now look to me for guidance. However, it's about staying true to the fact that all of that stuff isn't important to fulfill who I am, and reminding yourself every moment that I'm in purpose.
Well,
yeah. I could write out like all these goals. I'll be honest, that's not what drives me. It's what am I doing every day?
Well, so for the people watching, where can they find you?
You can find me on definitely Facebook, my personal Facebook page, JayDoran. Now the exact same name is my YouTube channel, JayDoran. There's over 300 videos on there now, and every day there's a new video that goes up, completely organic and authentic, just like this conversation. And I'm working on quite a few programs. It was like 300 videos, over 100 hours of value from leadership, communication, how to use your personal Facebook to get out there and help other people. But just stay in touch with me. You can message me on Facebook, and YouTube is the best way to message me on the messenger, and I hope you do.
Wonderful. Jay, thank you so much for being here, brother.
Yes.
We'll have you back soon.
Yes.
All right,
Thank
brother.
you, guys.